Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us this afternoon for our webinar on Picote special tooling. And we're coming at you today from Picote Training Centre in Sandhurst in the UK. So I'm Dawn Gregg, Chief Commercial Officer for Picote Solutions, and I'm joined today by our technical team in the training centre. We've got our technical services manager, Dan Holmes. And we've got Stephen Richardson, who's our technical trainer there. And squirreling away in the background is our senior marketing and communications manager, Steph Richardson. And Steph will be, of course, as always, putting all those useful links into the chat for you and making sure you have all the information that you need while the webinar is going on. So today, we really wanted to talk about the tooling to go with your Picote Millers. Now, there's a lot of special tooling that Picote has for specialist jobs, and there's a lot of really useful tooling that could be used for a number of different things. And we don't talk about that so much. We tend to talk about the equipment rather than the tooling. So we thought it would be really rather nice to go through some of those tooling options with you today. And there might be hopefully some things that you didn't know about. Sure, everybody knows, however, about the Smart Cutter. That's probably our most recognisable tool. It's those red flappy panels, as they're called. And Steve and Dan are going to take you through all of the tooling, but that's probably a really good place to start. So this is award-winning. We won the International Society for Trenchless Technology Innovative Product Award in 2012 with the Smart Cutter because it's a very, very versatile tool. And this is probably still our most popular, most well-known tool that everyone should really have in their toolbox. And I'm going to let Steve take it away and explain to you why that is. And then himself and Dan will talk you through some of the applications and some of the real life scenarios that these are really useful for. So over to you guys.
Okay, so here we have our Smart Cutter. We currently have it mounted on a leader to protect the shaft of the miller. So here you can see it's got these standard sanding panels on. They are our Picote sanding. Oh, sorry, no, I was wrong. They are extra tough panels on. So we do two different grits of panel, the standard and XT. This is an incredibly diverse tool. It's useful for so many things. It's customizable as well. So we predominantly use it for cleaning, but we can, or originally we used to have the drill heads mounted to the front for reinstatements, but since we've moved on to our special sort of dedicated tooling for that, I'll go more into that tool in a minute. But as you can see, this one actually has a drill bit mounted to the front, so it's very customizable. As the main body of the tool, you've got this aluminium holder, which you can interchange all of your different panels for your different sizes. We have hubs with different quantities of panel holding abilities. So you can hold more or you can hold less for your smaller diameters or more for your larger diameters. So here we have two different grits. You probably can't tell the difference from the camera, but I'll bring you in a bit closer in a minute. I would like to touch onto the institute that I have here open on the TV. So this is an amazing free resource that you guys can sign up to with just your email. So all on here we have tooling guides, we have training videos, and we have all information about lots of all of our different products really. So if you're looking for a wider system, or if you're looking for a more dedicated tool, you can find all of the information on the Institute. You can also you can sign up to your trainings on the Institute. So this will be here in the UK in Sandhurst. We also have a training center in Porvoo in Finland and in Arizona in the US. That's all the information on the Institute. And I can just scroll down and show you there's support documents. If you need any information about your millers, all sorts of videos from all sorts of different corners of the world. And you can actually build up a star rating based on what videos and how many videos you've watched.
And actually,
Now,
there's just sorry, Steve, I'm just going to interject for 1 second there, because one thing you will also find in the Institute, and we can talk about this at the end as well, but you can also find really useful quick guides. So all of the tooling that we'll talk about today will feature on those quick guides. So if you know what miller you have, you know the problem that you have, then you can look up that quick guide, the type of pipe that it is, the diameter that it is, and you can find the right tooling for the right job very quickly and easily on the Institute with those quick guides. And Steph has very helpfully put that link in the chat for you now. So that's picoteinstitute.com. And I suggest you do go on there. If you're not registered, do register for it. It's got a phenomenal amount of resources available, and those quick guides will make your life so much easier every time, because you know what the problem is and you know we're going to have a tool for it. So it's the easiest way to put those two things together and find out the right answer. Right, sorry, Steve. I thought I'd just pop in that one because the quick guides are so useful.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. So all of the tools that we're going to talk you through today are available individually, obviously, but we also offer a range of pro cutting kits and pro cleaning kits. Now, these are a great way of getting started, or just buying a kit in its whole for your applications and for your size of machine. Now, they're also quite good because you get great value for your money. You get an entire toolkit with everything in, and everything's got its own part numbers on, so it's very easy to know when you need to replace or expand your collection. Now, you can expand these by starting with a pro cutting or cleaning kit and then adding tools to them, or you can just expand the amount of kits you have. Okay, so we started with the Smart Cutter, which is a very awesome tool. And in a moment, you'll be able to see a smaller Smart Cutter. This is set up for the 12mm machine. In a minute, you'll see one for the 8. A very, very closely related tool is the pipe cutter. Now, as you can see, this has got a very similar construction to the Smart Cutter, but it is a way more specialized tool. This tool is dedicated for one thing, and that is cutting pipe, surprisingly. So you can see it's got these metal teeth on the white panels, and then it's got smooth rivets on the other side of the panel. Now, this is so you can get it down if you've overshot a liner, if you've pushed a pipe into a main too far, this will do it. Or if you need to cut off a knot of a liner or something, this tool is your friend. Now, I mentioned these smooth rivets on the back, so we can put this tool down the pipe with the panels pushed round the other way so that the cutting teeth don't damage your liner. Now, once you've got it through, you can then pop it open and then cut off the end. Now, while we're on the subject of smart cutters and pipe cutters, we've got this steering guide. This is a rotating ball on a stiff spring that we can mount to the front of the smart cutter, and that is for helping it to guide and steer through bends. Or if you're sanding a connection you've reopened, you can use it to push your smart cutter into a place that it may not have been sitting before. Now, next to the smart cutter, these white brushes here, these are brush coating. So we can use this to in tandem with our DC 1000 pump, or we can use the express pump. Now, this is going to paint a layer of resin on the inside of the pipe. But they're also cleaning brushes, so we can use them for cleaning, we can use them for polishing. We've got the wire cleaning brushes there as well, if you need a little bit more of an aggressive clean. We also have a 6mm version of these brushes to go on the ProLite tool. I'll show you that there. Cute little brush for cleaning out.
That's actually a really good point, Steve. So the tooling that people see, they might not be for all of the sizes, but we go from 1.25" 32mm, all the way up to 12" or 300mm in most cases, not for all tooling, but certainly for a lot of the tooling that you see there.
Now, on the subject of smaller tooling, Dan here has got a single-sided chain for your small diameter cleaning. You can see that this one's got the standard carbide teeth on it. These are the 4-pointed stars. We have also a premium, which is a 7-head carbide, and then we have a tiger, which is a different carbide completely. I can show you those on larger chains in a minute. This is our brand new unblocking head. This is compatible with the 6mm and 8mm shaft. So these will go quite happily on the ProLite, which is an awesome machine that we will focus on. We'll talk a little bit on in a minute. Talking about special tools, in the description of the webinar, I believe there was listed the Smart Spider and Smart Sweeper. These are very, very cool tools in my mind. So Dan here has got the Smart Sweeper, which has got rasp-like teeth that will start closed up and they will open up with your centrifugal force. Now, this is great for getting into small access with a larger tool because you can fold it up and then open it when you're spinning. This has 6 teeth in total in 2 sets, and they're sat behind each other. These are great tools because they're also customizable, like the Smart Cutter. You can see it's got the 4-bolt pattern on the front, similar to the Smart Cutter. This allows you to mount drill heads to the front of it. The special drill heads, which have got the carbide teeth on, or the tool steel teeth there on the Smart Cutter. Now, this is very much the same on the Smart Spider. You can mount teeth to the front of it for drilling applications. Here on the Smart Spider, you've got sprung-loaded legs. Now, these open up wider than the diameter of the pipe that it's designed for. So that means once it's in the pipe, it's always in contact with the pipe. So it's never going to be flailing around. It's never going to be sort of shaking around and damaging your pipe that way. These are great for, so these are actually designed for cleaning and descaling in cast iron pipes predominantly. They have very aggressive teeth that will chew through scale or build up. But what we found is they're actually amazing tools for fats, oils, and grease. So as you can imagine, the white buildup on the outside of the pipe is going to get mashed up by those legs, and it will just blend them up into a smoothie, essentially, for want of a better description. So these tools are great in fragile pipes because they obviously, as I mentioned earlier, they're not flailing around. They're always in contact with the pipe. And we've got contractors out there that told us they like to use it on clay pipes in central London, where we've got pipes that are ridiculously old and they've been around for forever. And they've, over the time where the ground's moved or weight's been put on top of them, they've cracked. Now these will clean those especially well. Now the smart sweeper is very similar in this because obviously you've got those legs are wrapped around it, but once you spin it up, you have one impact as the legs flail outwards, and then that's it. Once it's spinning, those legs are going to stay out and it's going to stay supported in the pipe. Now, sorry to jump around a little bit here, but I'm going to go back to the Smart Spider because I failed to mention the fact that these are also great in circumstance where you have missing portions of the pipe. So in the US, I believe they come up against a lot of trench rot where the bottom of the pipe has corroded and fallen out. Now, if I try and put a tool down there, a camera, a jetter, or some chains, that's going to fall out of that hole completely. But with the Smart Spider, you can have up to 30% of the pipe missing and it will stay inside the pipe because of those sprung-loaded legs. This is a great application because you can use it to clean or you can use it to get a camera down there. For whatever reason, if you can't move your camera down the pipe, you can strap your camera to the springs that are separate to the shaft, so it will protect your camera and you can push that through reasonably easily.
Can I just ask a question, Stevens, while we're on these two really great tools, which I don't think we do talk about enough because these are really fantastic. And the Smart Sweeper does come also in a mini Smart Sweeper version, which is, I believe, very good for P-traps and for navigating tight bends.
Have the Smart Sweeper that I'll pan around to in a minute on the 8mm tools. Actually, I can show you now. So here Dan has it. It's just a smaller version. You can see this one has actually got the drill head mounted on the front. It's also mounted on a leader for our 8mm machines. Next to it, you can see the small smart cutter that I mentioned earlier. It has a slightly different hub where it's got the flat panels without the rib going down one side, and you can fasten these just with a couple of bolts going through. You can also, if you're struggling to get these round corners, just trim the corners off to round the sandpaper panels off. But over time, you will find that this naturally happens. Also, cutting those corners off to round them off allows you to get the smart cutter back round tight bends. Okay. Now, going back to the first wall, here at the bottom on the shelf, we have a range of drill heads. Now, we do have a range because there are, a lot of them have different purposes. So we have three main types of drill head. So we have our standard special drill head, and then we've got our PVC safe drill heads, and our Tiger drill heads. Now, the difference between the standard and the PVC are that there's a ring that goes all the way around at the bottom of the drill head. Now, this is intended to allow the drill head to be used safely in a PVC pipe because it is not going to ride against the pipe surface and it's not going to damage. Now, this is also useful in a delicate pipe if you don't want your drill bit bouncing around too much. So here we have a PVC drill head. You can see that protective ring going around the outside of the teeth. And this is the standard one. As you can see, the teeth protrude all the way down the side of the tool, so a little bit more aggressive. And this is great for in use for cast or steel pipes. Now, the other one is the Tiger bore. Now, this is a drill bit set up with carbide teeth on it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have Tiger drill chains as well, with the drill bit built into the chains. And we have basically our Tiger range is a very specific type of carbide tooth. As you can see here, there is a drill head mounted on some chains that were successfully used for some concrete cutting. This particular job had concrete with a high quantity of aggregates in the concrete. So what we found was when we came in with our twister concrete cutters, the aggregates would pop out of the concrete, build up in front of the tool and stop it from cutting. Now, this tool excelled because it would bust up the concrete and then the aggregates were allowed to travel back through the chains. This was a very specific job that we had, and this tool we built up in the workshop and to great success. You guys can build this tool yourselves, but you do need to be careful with it as it is quite an aggressive tool. Now, this sort of thing will be covered in trainings. If you ever need or come along for a training, we will talk you through these sorts of things in higher detail. Now, on the back of this Tiger bore, you'll see there are teeth also, so you can cut in the forward direction and also cut pulling backwards. This is a feature you will see on some of our other tools that are on our twisters that I will show you in a minute. Dan? Okay, so the last thing on this wall is our multi-cutter. Now, this is an extremely cool tool that is designed for lateral cutting. Now, this is a very small package, very adaptable, and as you can see, it's got a very modular design to it. So I'll touch quickly on the cutting tool that we have mounted to it. This is currently, this particular one is actually a prototype. And it's a very new tool that we've developed to allow for easy reinstatements. Now, this is because, as you can see, it's got a bell shape to it. Here is our larger one that we have. This, you can see, has been used. So this stops the cutter from popping out of the pipe. So essentially, what you do is you use the cutter to actuate against the surface of the pipe, punch a hole, and then with that, you can then confidently and comfortably reinstate from the main. And this tool will sit quite happily and cut relatively easily through that. Now, this tool you can see has got a shaft connector on the back. So it's actually powered by our mini miller. You can power this by a mains powered mini miller or a battery miller. This is particularly good because it's got a small footprint, and I've personally fit this entire system in the boot of my Polo to transport to site. And you can see it's an incredibly flexible tool. So this is great for 4-inch, and it will also go up to 6-inch with, we've got some aluminium bracelets that will go around this and hold it higher in the center of the pipe. On the back here, you'll see the air fitting. This tool is actuated by air and spun by the miller. So in Dan's hand, he's got our special Picote air rods, push rods. They are compatible with all of the systems that we have. The connection collar, they'll fit on our packers. They'll also fit on our grabber. Now, this grabber has been used all over the world successfully in many, many jobs. Some of them being a crash helmet underneath an airport runway, which was a particularly interesting job. Or my favorite job that I went to in Bristol Zoo, somebody had dropped a large tape measure down a pumped filtration system for the crocodile enclosure. Now this was, I used this grabber head that goes on the air rods along with our mini grabber, which is a hand operated grabber. It has a screw in the handle that you can twist to grab and release. And it's currently set up with a magnetic attachment on it. This is, yeah, I won't talk too much about this tool. It's very cool, but we are here to look at the Miller tools. It's a very, very cool tool. But yes, I used it in conjunction with the air rod grabber to recover a tape measure. It was a particularly interesting job. So one thing I will mention about these air rods is they're also capable of carrying steam from our MIDI steamer, especially useful for our connection collar. So when we're pushing it quite far around multiple 90-degree bends, we can then use that to install our connection collars and push our packers, as well as drive the grabber and the multi-cutter. So very multi-use tool for the system.
Just before you move on, Steve, can I just point out to everyone that that prototype head that you showed, that bell-shaped head, it's our easy cut head, that is actually available to order now. So please talk to your Picote reseller if you already have the mini multi-cutter. This is our latest edition, and it really does make things even more intuitive, and it makes a really nice initial opening. So available now to order from your Picote reseller.
I personally very enjoy using this tool. I enjoy it a lot because it's so easy to control. Other cutting heads are available for this multi-cutter, some including concrete cutters for removing concrete. Okay, so now we're going to get up close and personal with our chains. Now we have quite a wide range of chains here. So they come in two main forms. There are cyclone chains and our original chains. Now, here on the top of the screen, Dan's got a set of cyclone chains. They are specifically designed to open up to the inner diameter of a pipe and not open any further. So these are great for cleaning and descaling when you haven't got heavy deposits or buildups. They're particularly useful for the last 10% of that pipe. So if you've got a really choked up pipe, then using the original chains to go in and clean the blockage, well, particularly the drill chains, the Tiger drill chains, to remove the majority of the buildup, and then going in with the cyclone chains to finish the job and really, really polish up that last 10%. So yes, we have our PVC drill chains here. So that just means we've got a drill head on the top of the chain and no carbide teeth on the main body of the chain. This is great for delicate pipes or lined pipes or pipes that you don't want to damage, because those chains will do little to no damage to pipes. If you're in a harder pipe, like a cast pipe or a clay pipe, then you're going to want to use your carbide teeth. So we have three different carbide teeth. As I mentioned earlier, we have the standard, premium, and the Tiger. Now, the Tiger drill chains are the most aggressive teeth, as they have a different cutting direction to the premium and the original chains. The difference between the premium and original is just quantity of teeth. And the premium chains are a bit more aggressive, and they will do a little bit more cutting, a bit more aggressive cutting. Okay, so also a little bit lower down on the wall are our 3D chains. Now, these are essentially chains that are designed to change size in the pipe. And you can change size with the RPM, because there is one fixed end and then one floating end that is controlled by a spring. So if I'm going in through a diameter change, I can start at a lower RPM for the smaller diameter. And then as I increase the speed, it will increase the diameter of the chains. So if I'm doing a lot of diameter changes, I don't have to pull the tool all the way out of the drain to change the chains. I can just change the speed and go from there. They're also good for complete blockages. If you've got 100% buildup in the pipe, you can go in at a low speed to pop the blockage open, and then slowly increase the speed to work out to the final diameter of the pipe. These are great in delicate pipes as well, because if you have reason to believe your pipe is delicate, you can start at a slow speed and work out. If you're working in a pipe descaling, you can start at low speed and you can hear the difference for when you can hear the difference between when it's in contact with the pipe and not in contact with the pipe. Now, we have a very specialized type of chain here called the special drill chains. Now, this has got the express drill chains, my bad. So they have a very aggressive cutting head on them. These are designed very specifically to reinstate. So they have, as the name express may suggest, they have a very, very fast, rapid reinstatement time. But as you can see, that would also be very effective at unblocking. Now, you see the carbide teeth on the chains here, so you would probably want to avoid using these in plastic pipes, so they're better for your cast and clays and concrete pipes. Now, very similar to this tool brings us on to our twister range. As you can see, is just the head of the drill chains mounted to a twister. Now, this is an extremely rapid tool at its job. This is designed for reinstatements. I would say this is probably most useful for reinstatements. So I'd say it's a very dedicated tool. Now, on the front of this tool, you can see the drill head is slightly smaller than the brushes behind it. That means it's the drill head won't be riding on the surface of the pipe, or if you've lined your lateral already, reinstating using this is not going to damage your liner. Okay, so next to it we have another twister. This is our metal cutter. So this is great for cutting rebar, for cutting screws. If you've got any sort of threaded bar through a pipe, that happens quite often, this will cut it out. Now, what you'll do with this one is start at a low RPM. It will start grinding your steel or your medium, whatever you have in your way. And once it's sort of bedded itself in, once it's ground a path for itself, then you can increase the speed and open up the RPMs. That way it will then start cutting faster, act more like an angle grinder, and rip through any metal. This currently is only for 100mm pipes. However, we're always innovating, so who knows what the future has to come. So
and that's always one of our
have,
favourite demos, isn't it, Stephen? In the
oh yes,
training centre, everyone loves that one.
it's a very fun demo because you get lots of sparks and lots of noise. Very entertaining.
And it's
Now here we have
surprisingly fast.
Oh yeah, it's a terribly rapid tool, for sure. Just be careful not to, if you ever do a demo with this tool or ever watch a demo with the cutter, you just need to not pick up the bit of steel that it plops out at the end of the pipe. I've done it, it's hot, don't. So here we have a concrete cutter. This has got randomized carbide teeth on the front and a carbide drill head on it. You can tell it's a concrete cutter due to its dual brushes at the back there, and as Dan's pointing out, this also has cutting teeth on the return edge of the tool. So if you ever are in a jam or you ever got aggregates or whatever built up behind your tool, just like the Tiger bore, you can cut your way backwards out of the pipe. Now, on the previous two twisters, you saw there is only a single brush up in the front, but this one has two brushes. This is for a very good reason. It helps keep the tool stable in the pipe, and it allows you to give it a little bit more pressure and stops the tool from twisting. Now, if you have a single brush and it hits a hard blockage, it's going to twist in the pipe. It's going to bury itself up or down, depending on what direction it starts cutting first. These brushes stop that from happening to maintain the structure of your pipe as much as possible. Now, we also do this tool with the Tiger cutting teeth. So as you can see, it's got a Tiger drill head in the middle and a Tiger cutting plate with speed holes, weight reduction. You can see this one also has the double brush at the back. We do all of these tools with single brushes that are specifically for reinstating. Now you can see the brushes on this tool are smaller than the size, or the same size as the cutting plate on the front. The twister, concrete cutter and liner removers are like this, so that you can cut more of the face of the concrete or liner that you're removing. Now, if you're reinstating with this, there is a possibility that they might sort of dig into the pipe a little bit more. But that is, yeah, that's the purpose of the brushes. Now, I think Dan has worked on a job in Thames that he would like to say something
I was just going to
about.
ask about that one because that was actually another award-winning project. So
yeah, sorry, just turning my microphone on. So yeah, concrete cutting on a Thames Water job in London. So we used both of these types of cutters. What we had was 50%, believe it or not, on the top of the pipe for a number of meters, and we used these types of cutters to get it out. We also had displaced joints in there as well. So another thing to note about these particular cutters is the one I'm holding in my hand at the moment is designed for a 150 pipe, but the actual plate is smaller than 150. The idea is that if it's smaller, it means it can go around multiple 90-degree bends in order to get the tool to where you need it in order to cut. So in that particular case where we'd cut that concrete out, there was about 10% of the concrete was still left in the pipe, which was fine because we could get that out with the smart cutter or chains. So yeah, absolutely ideal for removing concrete. What we also would do is we would, when we're going to site to do concrete cutting, we would take both types of cutting head. So I'm going to take this type, the original type, get it into the camera, there we go. And I'm also going to take a Tiger plate as well. So what tends to happen is that the carbides on this plate here are more randomly spaced, and that's particularly good where we've got different mixes of aggregates inside the concrete. So we'll find that this one will tear through certain mixes of aggregate, and then it will start to slow down as that aggregate mix changes. Then we're going to change it out for the tiger plate, because that we find that one will, if this one stops, then we'll change it for this one, and then that one will start cutting through it quite nicely as well. So that's what we find on those jobs. That particular job in London, where we used a combination of both concrete cutters, we also used chains coming from a manhole further back. So on those, and we use those chains very effectively to clear off most of the concrete that was on the top of the pipe. So we used a combination of the tools, both concrete cutters and chains, on that particular job to remove the concrete.
And Seth has put a link to that case study, and please give it a little read, because this was really a great project. To put it in perspective, the problem that they had someone coming out and doing ultra high pressure water jetting at their site, which was in busy central London, and they were struggling to remove around 0.5 metre per day of this cementitious compound. And to put it into perspective, with this combination of equipment, they could remove around 0.5 metre to 1.5 metres per hour. So a job that would have taken 6 weeks actually took 2 days. So that's just to put it into perspective there for you. So that's the cost saving, the time savings, the environmental savings, because it's in central London. And I believe that client now has a number of vehicles that just go out and do this, Dan, every day, don't they?
Yeah, so they do. They have, I think it's 4 vehicles now equipped with Picote Power Plus and Maxi Millers and concrete cutting heads. And their main purpose is just to go out and cut concrete for that particular water company, because there's so many incidents of concrete going into their drains. So another thing to mention, another job to mention was with the metal grinder, which was a job for one of the large franchise networks in the UK. They had some rebar going through one of their drains, which they removed with this. So again, this is designed for 100 mil pipe, but the actual cup itself is about 80 millimeters, 70 to 80 millimeters, I think, in diameter. The idea being that you can get this around multiple bends and get it to the point where you need it. Then you can grind through the metal, and then the remaining stubby bits of rebar in this particular case, this will get the bulk of it out, and then the remaining bits you can grind out with the smart cutter, with either the standard or the XT panels, either of which are fine. Now, bearing in mind that you've ground that steel back to the diameter of the pipe, we know that we've got to repair that pipe. So then a patch was installed over the top to make sure that the pipe didn't collapse. Okay, so yeah, that's where we've used that. I think Steph's put that that particular case study up in the chat as well, so you can have a read of that. Yeah.
So Dan, what would be your favourite? I mean, it depends. There's so many different applications, and I'm sure you get asked a lot of questions from contractors all the time about tooling. But what do you think is the most sort of underutilized piece of tooling that we have?
Well, I think the one that's probably taken granted the most is really the smart cutter. We won an award for it years ago for an innovation, and lots of people overlook it because they just look at it as, oh, it's just some grinding panels, and yet it's the first tool that we, the technical department, if we're going out onto site, it's the first one we're going to take. It's absolutely the first one we pack, and it's usually the first tool that we put down the drain to grind away at anything that might be in there. So I think it's the most versatile tool that we have. I've used it to grind away roots. I've used it to grind away concrete, where we've got concrete flare on joints, where the joints are pushed together and that flares on the inside, which is an incredibly hard compound. And I've used it to grind that away. We've ground out steel with it. I've ground back intruding connections with the panels, and it's not like the panels disintegrate after one job. I can use them multiple times, so I find it a brilliant tool for using it in a lot of scenarios that we come up against. I also quite like the smart sweeper as well. I went to a job in London where a liner had collapsed. That the liner had gone off before they'd managed to get the calibration hose through it, and so we drilled a hole in that liner with a tiger bore. So we punched a hole in it, we relieved the water, let that go through it, and then the liner was lying at the bottom of the pipe in a U shape. And because this tool folds up so small, I can get it much smaller than the pipe diameter that it can actually clean. I could push this over the top of the liner. I could push it up about 1 meter, and then I span it up. Now, bearing in mind this was in a cast iron pipe, so I wasn't worried about the pipe and how strong it was because it was in metal. I could then spin this up over the top of that liner, and then I could essentially cut the liner out in 1 meter sections, which is what we did. So it's a really great tool. And then we could use this tool then to clean that pipe, actually get the corrosion out, which is what the previous contractor hadn't done, and then line the pipe properly. So it's a really underutilized tool. And again, as we pointed out earlier, these plates on the front are universal. So I can put a drill head on the front of it if I need to, or I can put a plate on the front of it as well. So I can cut forwards, but I can also when these flail out and touch the wall of the pipe, they're great at cleaning the pipes and removing scale and corrosion buildup. So I think it's a great tool. Really like these sort of stuff, and similar sort of thing with the 3D chains. When we speed them up and they open up, I really like that because it means I haven't got to keep changing tools. I can essentially use the one tool to do that whole pipe. So the pipe can be choked up, and I can drill through it with this tool, and then I can speed the tool up, and it will open up that pipe as I go down it, which I like. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I think you touched upon something really important there when you talked about the smart sweeper, and then you said that you can change over that hub disc onto a drill head and things like that. That's the beauty of Picote tooling, because it is so adaptable and interchangeable. It is a bit of a pick and mix of tooling. So if you have a selection of Picote tooling, there's any number of possibilities and things that you can do. It's your own Meccano set. It's your Picotano, or I don't know if that's a word, but it's your own Picote Meccano, and it's really great because you can. Everyone likes to, no two jobs are the same, and everyone has to try and problem solve on site. And you might come up against something that you haven't seen before that's particularly challenging, and there's not a single solution for that. But with Picote tooling, if you do have a number of Picote tools, you have options. There are things that you can do, even if you have to switch things up a bit or change them out a bit to adapt to them yourselves. You have options.
Yeah, so like Steve said at the start of this presentation, one of is why we mentioned it. One of our favourite things are the pro cleaning kits and the pro cutting kits. You get, we think they're very good value for money. You get a lot of different tools in there, and you can then build upon those tools. You can just add tools as and when you can afford them, which then gives you far more options for every other job that you then go to. You've got more options with tooling. So we like those a lot. We find that they're very good. We use them here, so we have them, so that when we go out to site, we've got those tool bags with a decent selection of tools in them, and if nothing else, it just covers the basics. So you've got cyclone chains, you've got original chains, you've got a smart cutter. There's normally, I think there's a drill head in one of them as well. So yeah, and then we can mix the tools around. We can change them as we see fit, and try different stuff. Yeah, we find that works really well.
Because everything is so multi-use, like our millers, the tooling can also be very multi-use as well. So for example, the smart cutter, which we spent a bit of time talking about because it is such a great tool, that's also a really good basis for pipe preparation for the brush coating system. It's
invaluable when it comes to brush coating. So irrelevant what pipe material it is that we're going to coat, we will always put the smart cutter down first, because in plastic pipe it gives us a decent key. You turn a shiny pipe into one that's actually got a surface that we can brush coat. It's got something for the resin to actually grip onto. In cast iron, it will take out a great deal of the corrosion, which is what we're after. We're trying to get as smooth a pipe as we possibly can before we start coating. concrete pipe, it will smooth that out as well. So yeah, it's fabulous. We wouldn't start coating without having put a smart cutter down beforehand. Not a chance. No. It's very good for pipe prep. Very, very good.
So then, Stephen, what's your favourite? Everyone has a favourite. You've got to pick one. He doesn't want to pick a favourite? Okay, well.
No, sorry, I was just taking myself off of mute. I must say I am a real fan of the Tiger drill chains. I never really saw the importance of them when I first started at Picote, but now I really am a big fan of them because, as I mentioned earlier, they're available with PVC safe option or in the cast pipe, but they're an unbelievable tool at punching through solid build-ups or blockages. And they'll also, they excel at gripping onto wipes. So what they'll do is they won't drill through wipes. Nothing will drill through wipes. They will grab onto them and then give you the access to give you the ability to then pull the wipes out of the pipe. You can also just use them as standard chains. Let's say you don't have a blockage to like bury the drill head into. You can just use them as cleaning chains, and for that, I think they're a quite versatile tool.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for our team? Anybody got a question for Dan or Stephen? What would be questions you're most commonly asked about regarding our tooling? So I'm just throwing you on the spot.
There's lots. People usually have questions specific to the jobs that they're on. So for that, we can use the quick guides for the tooling, or you can contact us directly through the website. But I don't know what the most common questions that we have.
Concrete's probably quite common, isn't it?
Yeah, concrete is a very, very common question because not genuinely because not because everyone has concrete. It's because everyone has come up against concrete at some point and they fear it because concrete is quite, I mean, it's not ideal. You don't necessarily want concrete in your pipes, but the fact that we do a range of tools that can attack concrete, what we'll do is we'll ask them questions. If they've got a specific job in mind, we'll ask them about what kind of concrete is, what the access is like, what the distance is like. We can, most of the time, we can tailor a tool specifically to those jobs. But if people don't know, or if they're just asking for future references, then we can sort of just give them a general view of what the different concrete tools are. So we've got the twisters, the cutter, the drill chains, and the Tiger bore combination with the chains behind them. But people quite often want to know what the best tool is to have, but there is no one answer because all of our tools are great for very specific jobs, but they also have quite a lot of overlap. For example, the Tiger drill chains have overlap because they're great at cleaning, but they're also great at unblocking. And that's where the pro cutting and cleaning kits come in really handy because then you have a selection, you have options of tools that you can go to. And you will find that if you were cleaning or descaling, you might go for the smart cutter first because it's a less brutal and aggressive option, and then realize that actually you've got quite a large build-up of scale, and then you go to a carbide chain or something. So I really like that gives you the options.
Awesome. And then I believe that from time to time you might get asked the odd question about failed liner. So it's the nightmare situation that nobody wants, but every so often someone will there'll be an issue at site and a liner might fail. Of course, it's someone else's liner and you're called in to deal with it. But that can happen too, can't it? And we have tools for that as well.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the concrete. When your competitor's liner has failed or gone poorly, then obviously, as we mentioned, we've got the concrete cutters for the liners that have failed and hung around in the middle of the pipe. Or if you've got liners that have completely collapsed and are just sitting at the bottom of the pipe, then the carbide chains and the smart sweeper, as Dan experienced, are very cool tools for those specific jobs. But as you build up the jobs with your Picote Millers, you will get to know what tools that you prefer for these jobs. And if you really don't know, then we tend to have enough answers or suggestions for you to get you started.
No, that's fantastic, because I know that all our team do a lot of site support, for example, and are very experienced in the field. So, you know, if anybody does have any questions about a particular project, you can always reach out to members of our team. And of course, to our resellers as well, who are also very knowledgeable and can help you with that, not just with product questions. If no one has any questions, you can pop them in chat now. Otherwise, if you think of something later on, that's not a problem. All you need to do is contact any one of our team. If you go to our website, which is picotegroup.com, under contacts, you'll find all of us there, the whole team. There might be a couple of people on holiday right now. It's holiday season, but you'll be able to get a hold of someone. That's never a problem at Picote. There's always someone here to help you. And sometimes you might go away and think of the question afterwards. So if for any reason you can't find the answer to your question on picotegroup.com or on picoteinstitute.com, where we've got a number of resources, like Stephen said earlier, we've got free courses on there, so you can really get to learn a lot more about some of these tooling options. But if you don't, for any reason, find the answers to your questions there, of course, no problem. You can have direct contact with any one of the technical team, and they will be able to support that, absolutely. And I do strongly suggest that you do go to picoteinstitute.com regardless and register for free if you haven't done that already, because you will really gain access to a whole world of Picote resources, which will really change the way, hopefully, that you work with Picote in your everyday life, because there's such great resources there, including, like I said, those quick guides, which hopefully demystify the whole, because we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of products, we know that. We have a huge number of tools for a large number of machines, and they all have their uses, and in many cases, multiple uses. So to demystify that, the quick guides are a phenomenal resource. But yeah, don't see any questions from anyone. So I think that means that you both did a fantastic job. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you to Steph as well in the background for that amazing list of resources for you to click through to. If you want to take your time and have a bit more of a think about it, this recording is going to be available on our YouTube channel in the next few days or a week or so. And I'm sure Steph will busy herself getting that ready for you. That'll just go straight up to our YouTube channel, and it'll also be available on picotegroup.com, and I'm sure picoteinstitute.com as well. So all the bases are covered there. So if there's anything that you don't quite remember or you want to look at again, then you'll be able to access it for yourself. Okay, so Steph has also very kindly put up the details there, the page, so you can find your local stockist. If you're not entirely sure, maybe it's your first time or you're not sure who you can purchase through, simply go to picotegroup.com/resellers, and you'll be able to pick your region, and you'll find the resellers in that region, so who has stock of Picote products, and you'll be able to order from them or get further information from them, certainly. Okay, so apparently the Q&A tab's not working. I'm so sorry about that. You could pop your question in the chat if the Q&A isn't working, but feeling that, like I said, please reach out to us at any time. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm sure we'll be having another webinar very soon. We're hoping to be able to have one from our USA Training Centre in the very near future as well. But for now, just like to thank you all for joining us today. And I'd like to once again thank Dan, Steve and Steph in the background for all your work today as well. Thank you very much and take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.